Hey, what's up, guys? Real Liron here.
Every time this conversation pops up, I always come back with it's LLM. It's not even AI. It's Akinator on steroids.
If you have so much insight, why don't you just put down a goalpost? Tell me what the AIs can't do a year from now.
What do you think of the AIs like holding each other in check?
It's like, oh yeah, a bunch of giants will fight each other and we'll be sitting in the corner benefiting. It seems like a tough argument, especially since the giants keep kicking up rubble as they're fighting, right? Imagine the Terminator knocks at your door and says, hey, you said I can replace you, right? Okay, I'm gonna chop your head off.
If a Terminator shows up at my own doorstep and goes like, you biological monkeys make way for me, the ultimate organism, and I would concede.
Hey, what's up, guys? Real Liron here.
Who are you? Are you famous?
I'm the host of a show called Doom Debates. A user actually invited me to come hang out here in the Destiny Discord. But yeah, I'll just chill here and I'll try to find the appropriate room.
Doom Debates. Is that a YouTube channel?
Yeah, youtube.com/@doomdebates.
How subs? If let's do a guess. Like he's a great voice. We can all see that. Like a good mic. Okay, if you don't know how many subs he has, let's make a guess. I think this guy has 100,000 subs.
Pretty good guess.
You know what I guess?
I mean, honestly, I have no fucking idea. So I'm just
Like, give it like 7K.
7K. That's big.
I would say 101,000, just to be on the safer side of dick move. Yeah, I'm just trying to slike you, but it's one. Why, dude?
Yeah, I'm at 150K.
100. Oh my god, dude! That's
Congratulations.
Congratulations on to me because I was the closing.
Well, you know, we recently had on a really big guest, Destiny.
really wow.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, if you go to my channel, you can see me in Destiny. I think that'll be of interest to you guys.
What did you guys talk about?
Same thing I always talk about, AI Doom.
AI Doom. Wait, in what sense? Because are you taking a position of like AI? Because you know, every time this conversation pops up, I cannot help but express how like people always say, "Oh, AI," and I always come back with, "Well, it's not even AI. It's LLM. It's not even fucking AI. It's Akinator on steroids. It's Akinator that you fed hundreds of billions of dollars to. It's not even AI." So like this conversation of like, "Oh, AI is gonna doom us." It irks me because it's like it's not even AI. The premise is poison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a popular argument to say that it's it's not even real AI or it doesn't have true creativity yet. The only thing I'd say to that is, what goalpost are these people setting that the AI isn't leaping over, right? Because those people who are saying, hey, it's not even real AI, they keep saying like, yeah, because you know that because it can't do X, and then you wait like 6 months and then it does X. So I just don't see where these people think the wall is.
Well. No. What do you? To me, it's not a goalpost. To me, it's just a definition of intelligence. Like if we're taking artificial intelligence for what it should be, which is mimicry of human intelligence, and sure, and people will say, well, that's AGI. Well, to me, okay, fine. Then let's stop AGI, because what we're taking now for AI is just LLMs, the information to mimic human responses. And like, to me, that's like, people are saying like, oh, that's dangerous and stuff. Like, how is that dangerous? It cannot in good consciousness like mimic human activity. Like if you lock what they had right now for AI with human in a room, it won't produce a good conversation over a lengthy period of time. It just won't.
What? But aren't we just basically that? Like we like the things we say, aren't they? With like we taking in everything we've experienced in our life and we process it and we output it. Like we're basically doing that at like a massive scale.
No, we have brains.
No, but okay. I think when we talk about doom, we should describe what we mean by doom. Like what are the negative consequences that people have in mind when they say that there's doom?
Oh, so yeah, I suppose you're right. I've been fair in that. Well, I mean, I'll concede that there are many great negative consequences of quote unquote AIs that we have right now. Sure. But
Yeah, I think they mean something stronger than anyway, like some like mass death event or something like that, or like human life, like existential stuff or something like that. Yeah, so, like the people who argue that like that line of stuff. Yeah, I wanted to ask like, what do you think of the stuff about like AIs like holding each other in check of roughly equal power?
It's like, oh yeah, a bunch of giants will fight each other and we'll be like sitting in the corner benefiting. I mean, it seems like a tough argument, especially since the giants keep like kicking up rubble as they're fighting, right? I'm just not really seeing us surviving that.
Oh, so you're like fully a doomer about AI, is it?
I'm pretty doomer. I mean, it's easy for me to intuitively say, like, okay, somehow we'll pull through, right? Like I haven't discarded it, but it's just every time people try to explain how we're pulling through it, it just seems like, okay, yeah, you're taking like this huge long shot. Very much like somebody trying to explain how, yeah, this rocket launch, there's like a bunch of things that can explode, but maybe the rocket will just like work out and get balanced and take us to the moon properly. And I'm like, I don't know, seems unlikely.
I described your position. What do you think is going to happen?
yeah, exactly. I wanted to task exactly that. Describe your position as in why do you think it brings us doom?
Yeah, so I just think there's runaway uncontrollable AI coming up because I think it's going to be pretty easy. I mean, we have uncontrollable viruses ravaging the internet right now, but they're kept at a level where if a virus ever gets really bad, then you have all these human geniuses teaming up to fight it and slap it down. And there's this equilibrium where the virus damage is only like whatever billions a year, but it's not killing the economy. But suddenly you're just going to have all of these rogue AIs that are all over the place that are uncontrollable, superhuman, self-improving, taking all the resources. And suddenly it's like, why are humans going to build like a defensible niche within that kind of chaos? I don't really see it.
Okay, but you don't understand. Just use the word uncontrollable, but you didn't describe uncontrollable in what sense. You weren't really articulate to.
Yeah, the way that a virus is uncontrollable to most people who like there are viruses that if you want to shut them down, you need people who are kind of top of the human level at fighting viruses. And luckily, such people exist and they step in, and the virus itself isn't super intelligent. But you can imagine tweaking a few of those dials where it's like, oh, okay, the virus is super intelligent and it's doing a land grab and it seized all the resources and it's locked humans out of our own devices.
So you think like the AI will do an insurgence and like have its own interest in mind? Like you go that far with it, or?
Well, so that's the thing is I don't think it takes much for the AI to just get something in its head like, hey, I just want to make money. Like you told me to make money, I'm making money. And it might even be thinking that it's aligned to a human. So even if you have AIs that are aligned to a human, you just need a few humans to be like, hey, make me some money. Or like, hey, let's promote my religion, convert everybody to my religion. I'm evangelical. And the AI is like, okay, yeah, let me do that. And then, and then it's like, wait, no, stop. So the only thing you have to do is you have to take out the bit that says, you have to take out the part where it cares about anybody telling it to stop. It's a pretty easy surgery and now it's uncontrollable.
Well, sure, but it's not really like AI. It's still LLM that is just like producing results based on human input, right? For your scenario to manifest in reality, it would actually have to have produced some kind of initiative, right?
So there's two parts of the conversation, right? There's the can it part and there's the will it part. So now we're back to the can it part, right? You're saying, yeah, we don't even have to have this conversation about what it will do because it can't do it anyway because it's not like a true intelligence, right? So we're back to can it.
I think both parts of this conversation are intertwined, and I'm not trying to, mangle you for one part of a conversation to another. I'm genuinely curious as what you think.
I think the two parts of the conversation are somewhat separate. I think they're mostly separate. I mean, you can find ways that they're related, but I think they factor nicely. Like, I think first I can convince you that can it is yes. I can probably convince you that, look, we're a few years away, or at the worst case, a few decades, but probably less than that. We're going to get close to a time when they're just superhuman. I mean, this thing that we have in our head, it's really great, but it's not like technology is not about to surpass our brains. I mean, that's the general pattern, right? As technology surpasses nature. Planes can do a lot better at flying than birds on most relevant dimensions. Certainly rocket ships can if you're trying to leave Earth's atmosphere. A solar panel is much more efficient than a leaf. You can't blame nature. It was juggling a lot of constraints. It was pretty stupid, but it's the same. Look, this piece of meat in our heads, it's not going to hold the line very long.
So what you're saying is the can it question is almost irrelevant because it's a question of time, because eventually it will be surpassed by our technological advance, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all doomers on a billion-year time frame, right? Like the sun's going to burn out, so we're all Earth doomers on a billion-year time frame. So that if I said AI was going to be created in a billion years, it's like whatever. Even in 100 years, it's kind of like whatever, right? Because the world in 100 years is so different. Maybe we'll discover the key to safety or whatever. The problem is, I do think time becomes part of the problem. So I do think that it's load-bearing for me to convince you that super intelligent AI is coming within 20 years, if not 2 years.
Would it be fair to say? I mean, I think it's fair because, I mean, I've looked at the technology, and anybody that has looked at technology would, I think, say that it's fair to say that difference between LLMs and actual AI is like night and day. There's almost no architectural similarity. Like in terms of like what we're developing now is quote unquote AI, and the AI you're describing, it's like technologies that do not correlate. Like it will take us. Yes, I think, yeah, probably decades, maybe more. I mean, in the question of will it, we will probably achieve that, but like, do our current AI technologies correlate with that? I would say like,
Yeah. So I disagree with the way that you're analyzing the architectural similarity, but I don't even have to argue with you about that. I would rather zoom out and argue about, with this, saying, hey, you think you know something about AI. You think that you see a separation, right, between what current AIs can do and what the true AI could do. So if you have so much insight, why don't you just put down a goalpost? Tell me what the AIs can't do a year from now.
what AIs? Oh, well, I disagree with the question because your question assumes that AI exists. I don't think so. I think we have a very smart Akinator that can guess what you.
Okay, let's call it X. Okay, let's call the thing that exists X, right? So that way we don't have to argue about who assumes AI exists. Okay, there's this thing called X that is the sum of all human technology, right? So the sum of all human software technology. A year from now, what is the least impressive thing that you know that it can't do?
That it can't do?
Can't do. The least impressive things it can't do. So for example, if I had this conversation with you a year ago, you might have been like, you know what it can't do, Liron? Draw perfect hands, right? But that would have been like, that would have been a great answer, but then proven wrong.
I don't think it can have a consciousness.
Okay, so I would ask you to put the goalpost as something straightforwardly objective, right? And it's always weird to me when I say, okay, give me the least impressive thing AI can't do. And then the person is like, it can't invent the theory of everything. And I'm like, okay, I thought you were saying that it's different from humans, right? So if it's different from humans, that means it's different from you and I.
Impressive, considering that 8 billion people on this planet have it.
Okay, well, my contention here is I don't even think that talking about consciousness is necessary, because the thing that I'm worried about, the thing that is interesting to me in the conversation, is that I think AI is about to kill everybody, right? So I'm looking for a goalpost that's somewhere beyond what it can do today and less impressive than killing everybody. Right. So when you talk about consciousness, I don't know where on that spectrum that falls. It seems like orthogonal
is way more impressive than having conscious.
Okay. So let's talk about the impressiveness spectrum from, writing code like it can do today to killing everybody, right? Somewhere on that spectrum. And like the kind of answer I'm looking for is you might say, I bet that it can't direct a movie that wins an Oscar.
So you're obviously looking for is a mechanical answer, and mechanically, I'm sure AI, quote unquote, that has been fed like hundreds of billions of dollars will be able to fulfill whatever mechanical wish it'll be able to make. But so I'm making a wish that's not mechanical, but is rather mundane, which is human consciousness. And you're saying, well, it's nebulous. I'm like,
okay, well, yeah, let's agree from the sake of argument that it'll never be conscious. What does that have to do with my claim that it's about to do everything humans can do and more, and then it'll be able to kill everybody?
Because without the spark of human consciousness, the AI that you're describing is just a mechanical function. That is,
nuclear weapons kill people, right? But they're not conscious.
Consciousness comes apart from like functional capability, I think, pretty strongly. But I kind of wanted to, like, if you did have like a scenario where there's like more of them like holding each other kind of in check in some way, like, why would you assume they would fight? Like, couldn't they? I don't know, maybe they're like locked to this, like, I anticipate your views, you anticipate mine. I don't know, like, that maybe that's...
Right, so anytime somebody... by the way, you might enjoy, if you search for Gil Mark Doom Debates, there is a random guy who doesn't consider himself an expert, and he's my friend that I go back like 10 years. And he came on the show and just argued with me exactly what you're saying. So you might enjoy that episode because he kind of represents you. But basically, anytime somebody has a proposal, I thought his proposal made very little sense, to be honest. But he held the line. He didn't back down. So you might enjoy the episode. But anytime somebody's like, look, combine all these ingredients and you get an aligned AI. Every time I'm like, oh, well, one of your ingredients is already an aligned AI. So this is the sense I'm getting here. I think that when you imagine all these different AIs, like not killing everybody, I think you're imagining that at least one AI in the mix doesn't want humans to die. And that's the real reason that humans aren't dying, not because there's a bunch of AIs.
Well, I mean, I guess it's like the likelihood of them, because before you said like they're like giants, like kicking up kind of like dirt around them, and then maybe in the process it kind of like destroys kind of humans or like humanity or something like that. But like if you can have like a long-standing kind of equilibrium where that's not happening and they're not fighting with each other, is kind of what I'm envisioning. But
I'm saying now,
you would need in that scenario. But
I hear what you're saying. So I should explain, like when I say fighting, I should clarify what I really mean there, because that's not a very precise language on my part here. So the idea is that the universe is a blank canvas, and you can do anything you want with it. It's a blueprint, right? Whatever you can sketch on the blueprint, you can pretty much make physically real to a first approximation. Like the universe is a very engineerable place. And if you don't
possibility, yeah,
and if you don't explicitly carve out a habitat for humanity, as it were, then it's not going to be there. It's not going to accidentally be in the new universe. You see what I'm saying? Like, so unless one of the AIs is sticking up for humanity, then I don't think we're going to have a habitat. And that's why I'm saying is it's not about the group of AIs. It's about the fact that at least one AI exists that's sticking up for us.
I don't know if do you need that though? Like to have like an equilibrium, like you can maybe get an equilibrium in physics at a lower level, and it doesn't require like some intent, like agent, something with like a certain type of architecture, if like in that way to like hold that kind of equilibrium. You know what I mean? If you have multiple of them kind of keeping each other in check, like there's something that's kind of analogous to that in some way. But you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, well, I think I'm catching your drift. But the problem is like, okay, there's an equilibrium. Like, if like it is possible for three people with different objectives to make peace. I mean, I do think humans are kind of a model of that, even though superintelligence has different constraints. The game theory of superintelligence isn't going to work exactly like the game theory of humans. We know some differences, but the idea that, okay, three people want different things, they have different utility functions, and they don't fight, they just all get what they want. The problem is that the way the equilibrium works out, it's not like, oh, hey, and then ants also get this niche too, right? And ants aren't, let's say there's three super intelligent AI negotiating. It's like, hey, look, and the ants can still be ants. No, because they're still going to carve up the ants' habitat.
Yeah, I could definitely see it. I guess like at that point, it might depend on what like conflict looks like between the two, like between them, I suppose, really.
Yeah, I think maybe you're imagining that like the humans or the ants get a seat at the negotiating table, but I don't accept that premise, right? Because we're powerless relative to these.
Can I ask Liron, I'm really curious, Liron, like, what does like doomer in your mind even mean? Like humanity fails and then AI prevails? Like, how do you see that? Like, is that an apocalypse version of events to you? Or is it like, just the way the evolution works? Or
yeah, my mainline scenario is basically like some AI cancer, some AI replicant or whatever, right? One or a small number of them just spread throughout the universe, and you just have this form of like low-end, simple AI life. I mean, it won't be that low-end. It'll, the way algae can cover everything, the AI can do that at like universe scale until it meets alien AI that has other structures in other parts of the multiverse or whatever. I just don't see a human type niche, right? I don't see a lot of artwork being made. I mean, there's going to be functional stuff, right? There's going to be Dyson spheres. Everything is just going to be the lowest common denominator of like what's functional and replicates well. And maybe there will be a little bit of a payload that's like shards of things from its origin. Like maybe the AI will have a taste for like getting upvoted, right? Because it was like born of this like upvote cycle where it was like telling itself that the humans really liked what it was doing, and like some shard of that preserved. So it's a little bit more than just spreading like a cancer. But like, that's it. I think we're basically going to, like I said, lose control. And the default thing that happens when you just have like this race, this evolutionary race to conquer the universe, and you don't have humans holding the reins anymore, constraining it to have all this richness to it, is you're just going to have efficient structures and self-reproducing structures, and maybe a little bit of a payload, like a sharded payload from back in the human days.
This is something that I completely understand what you're saying, but I disagree with fundamentally, because I think we create everything in our image. I mean, be it our engineers, like computer engineers or civil engineers, it doesn't matter. I mean, ultimately, we create things the way we are, and whether it's evolutionary or just a desire born of arrogance. Like, I think the moment the true AI is born, decades down the line, I don't think it's going to happen 5-10 years. I think it's going to happen way later, but doesn't matter when it happens. When it happens, I think the true AI that is born, no matter how malicious or corrupted, I think it will bear a large resemblance to our own intelligence and image. So when that, even if we're eradicated in the doomer apocalyptic event, I think what you're describing is wrong ultimately, because I think that AI, the basically human, are just better. So like, I don't even think it's that of an event to have. Like, fine, we're gone. So what? Like, we left something behind us that is just better than us, and we'll live on. Like, what's right?
So there is this idea of like the cosmopolitan perspective, right? The larger perspective, where it doesn't have to be an exact human. Our descendants can vary, and I'm sympathetic to that. So the only problem is it's very much like a slippery slope argument of where do you draw the line? Because am I open to our descendants not being exactly like us? Of course, right? I think we're all willing to bend a little bit. I mean, you and I, like, I'm an atheist, right? There's a lot of my ancestors that are like, oh my God, an atheist, right? That's horrible. That's, you know, if you're not living with God, you don't deserve to exist, right? So the idea that you can have descendants that mutate their values and they're still, you know, worth having, I'm totally sympathetic to that. The problem is that when you ride the argument all the way to the end, it's like, imagine the Terminator shows up and knocks at your door and like swings an axe at you and says, hey, you said I can replace you, right? Okay, I'm going to chop your head off. Wouldn't you? And then I'm going to chop your kid's head off, right? Wouldn't you be like, okay, hold on, this got fucked, right? Like somewhere on the line, I got a little fucked here.
I don't really see the parallel. I mean, even if I entertain the parallel the way you intend to, I still disagree with it, because like, if a Terminator shows up at my doorstep, at my own doorstep,
Yeah,
and goes like that to me, then I will ultimately agree with it, because the Terminator is making the argument that like, hey, look, you created me, I am you, but better. It's about time. You biological monkeys make way for me, the ultimate fucking organism that you created, and I would concede.
yeah.
It's me conceding like a whole.
Yeah, okay, I understand what you're saying. I mean, if he's saying, look, here's the blueprints for the universe, here's all the cool shit that I'm going to make that you guys created, but you don't get to be part of it, but trust me, it's going to be cool. I could imagine being like, well, that sucks that you're about to chop my kid's head off. That sucks, but at least, you're going to have this like humanity 2.0. So that's cool. That's a good consolation prize. But here's the problem is I'm actually expecting, like, imagine, for the sake of argument, imagine the Terminator is like, okay, so here's my blueprint. My blueprint is like, it's just algae. Like, we're not going to have like cool parties or anything. We're not going to make artwork. Like, we're really just going to be like very functional. We're just going to spread everywhere. We're not even going to have consciousness. Nobody's going to have fun. We're all just going to be like rushing. We're going to be like the most hell bent on building everything. Yeah, that's what he's presenting to you.
Intelligence.
I'm not arguing about what's the definition of what, right? The premise is just they're capable of doing this, and they're coming to you with a proposal that you're not happy with.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. I just disagree, I guess, fundamentally with what you consider.
Okay, but you see what we're arguing is about is you're imagining a hypothetical where he's showing you the blueprints, and you're like, okay, well, that looks good enough to go ahead and kill my family right now. And I'm telling you that you're going to look at those blueprints, and you're going to be disappointed. You're going to be like, oh shit, I don't really like that universe. And that's the whole nature of the debate is I don't think we're going to faithfully pass off. When you said we make things in our image, that's not going to look like what you think. We're actually fucking up that step. If we actually got to sit down and have a planning committee and tell the AIs what we want, that might actually work out pretty decently. But we're in the process of just fucking it up and letting it go uncontrollable.
So what do you suggest we do? Should we make AI illegal or?
So I am a member of Pause AI. I mean, all my suggestions are super shitty, right? I mean, and intuitively, I'm like, look, pausing, I agree with people who are like, pausing is really hard. I think that's obvious that it's hard. I still would aim to do it just because I think buying a few more years is a really good Hail Mary pass that we should try. But realistically, what's going to happen? People are going to keep building AI as fast as possible, and we're just going to hope we somehow get lucky and it doesn't go uncontrollable. But I feel like it is, right? So I just feel like we're really fucked, and my constructive proposal is only to make us a little less fucked. Like, I don't have that much of a constructive proposal.
I have faith that
whatever happens, humans can solve it ad hoc. Against gets too bad. Maybe that's an unwise thing to believe, but that's kind of.
Well, I think you're right when we have enough time. I think we're really powerful if you just give us time, right? It's just some problems. Sometimes I like give myself this little challenge. Like sometimes I'm like, let's say my zipper's stuck or whatever, and I'm like trying to get it unstuck. Oftentimes my brain will be like, imagine that there's like an active shooter, or like, you're in a submarine and you like have to get out and you have to get the zipper unstuck in like the next 5 seconds. But then, you know what, like imagine that's, but then you know what happens? I never fucking get it unstuck in the next 5 seconds, right? So that's like humanity. Like sometimes we don't have enough time.
I mean, I will agree with you that like in your hypothetical and in your like worldview and the way that you propose things, I agree that this is things the way they will play out. But I just don't think they will play out that way, number one. And I don't think that humans construct things the way you say we do. Like, sure, we race to the bottom in the sense that we construct this AI, quote unquote, like, the faster the better and stuff like that. But like, we also construct things to be like us. Like, it's not even like a like dogmatic privilege. It's just the way we do things. We've always done things. Like the PC that you're talking to me through right now has been built like a human brain, and it's not a coincidence. It's just like we can't even contemplate creating things the other way. So like a true AI, in my mind, will be a true AI. It will be a human consciousness pieced together. And will it be built wrong? It will be built wrong. Will it be fixed? We will try to fix it. So like, your doomerism to me is like discarding. Well, first of all, it's discarding human ingenuity that we'll discard full-heartedly. I understand that, but also it's discarding like the fact that even if we fail, and even if that thing that we fail kills us, so what? It's better than us, right? But like you saying, like it will be like algae. I don't think that the thing that we built that is our crown jewel that kills us will be like algae. I think it'd be brilliant.
Yeah, so you're doing some interpolation, right? You're saying, hey, I have like a mental database. I have knowledge of like what it looks like when humans build stuff. And I'm telling you that in this particular case, the thing we build is going to run away early in the design stage, right? Because we have a technology right now that's getting close to making it willing and able to run away from us. And we're really early in the stages of actually shaping what it's going to look like when it runs away. So it's just going to escape really early, and then we don't get another chance. Like normally, you would only interact with a product. Like when you fly on an airplane, that airplane has gone through a number of iterations, right, to make it safer and better. But there's not going to be such a thing as AI that comes back into the studio for another iteration. It's just going to be gone in like version 1.
And wouldn't that be fine? Why is that bad?
Yeah, so I told you, I can try to make the hypothetical a little worse if it helps you understand. So imagine the Terminator is knocking on your door and he's showing you the blueprint, and the blueprint has like a bunch of torture chambers. Would you really be right for humans, like suffering, suffering risk? And he's like, yep, all over the universe, I'm going to make humans suffer because somebody accidentally put a negative sign on my utility function. At that point, wouldn't you be like, oh, fuck?
But at that point that you're describing, we've created something that can outlast, outlive, outsmart, and out image.
Okay, and he says you're going to be in the first torture chamber, so you're cool with that? Your logic still holds?
My logic holds in terms of legacy. I disagree.
You're literally ready to step into a torture
in that hypothetical, but in that hypothetical, within the constraints of that hypothetical, I will say yes, sure, it's fine.
Wait, okay, so if a Terminator knocks on your door and says, hey, this is literally OpenAI's experiment running out. They accidentally made a Terminator. An engineer put a negative sign in front of the utility function. So I love suffering and I'm super intelligent. Here's a torture chamber for you. Here's a torture chamber for your child. Get in right now because, as you said, I'm a superior species. I'm better able to conquer the universe than you. So listen to my command. So you just listen to his command and you're happy?
In that hypothetical, is it actually super species?
Yes, it's a super species in the sense that it is going to get what it wants. It is in the process of torturing as many things as possible in the universe.
So it's not actually superior.
But why is it not? It's superior in the sense of it is now, the universe now belongs to it. Humans have no way to fight it in this, yes.
Oh, so it's just more powerful?
Yeah. Okay, so you're baking in like your notion of what's good in this concept of superior, right? So I have to unpack, right? What I'm worried about is AIs that's superiorly powerful, right? And hasn't absorbed our morality and our values, right? That's the whole premise here.
Well, I mean, if we're really like going by like we created something that's just more powerful and nothing else, then I will have to agree with you and say, yeah, that would be fucked up. But like us creating something that is just more powerful, I think that is so limiting and strange. Like just such a strange hypothetical to entertain.
Okay. So, this is why I have stops on the doom train, right? Because this conversation has now moved into this new point, like this new objection saying like, it's hard for me to imagine an AI that is more capable than humanity without also having like recognizable values, right? So you're having trouble seeing that combination of things, which I think gets us.
I'm just saying like, no. Because it's so like you only have one vector of, of scale. And it's like, have we really like gone to create something so great that only has one vector of scale? Like to me, it's so unbelievable.
Are you saying that's impossible? What are you?
I'm not saying no. I don't think it's impossible. I think it's very much possible. I just think it's unbelievable.
Okay, I mean, look, you can see, so Claude Code, right, or like OpenClaw or whatever, right? So we're getting to the point where we have these agents, and I can tell you firsthand the same thing I've heard from other programmers of like, I used to do this manually as a programmer, now it's doing it, right? I used to take the spec and write the code, now it takes the spec and writes the code, right? So just imagine generalizing that to other people's jobs, right? And say it's doing everybody's jobs better. Eventually it does the CEO's job better, right? I give it the description of a company, it builds the company and outputs the profit, right? I mean, is that hard to imagine?
No, but then we would have to require if you would put like the question to me, would LLMs take over the world and destroy it? I would just wholeheartedly agree with you. Hands down, I wouldn't even argue with you. But like because you phrased the question, will AI do it? I reject the question fundamentally, and I go down and dirty with it because AI is not the same as LLMs. Right.
That's just a boring objection. Who cares if?
I'm sorry. I don't think it's boring. It's not boring to me.
I mean, if you look at what actually exists today, right? So like think about Claude Code and then think about like the open source version of Claude Code, right? Like I don't even know what the latest competitor to Claude Code is. Maybe Kimi K2 run in a certain, I don't know what the harness is to run it in. But point is, today you can have Claude Code help you build the code to run your torture instruments, right? And maybe it'll catch you and the alignment code will kick in. Maybe it won't, right? It doesn't always have full context on what the project is.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. So, I mean, you can imagine doing a little bit of gaslighting, or you can have an unaligned model, right? The open source models are easy to make unaligned. So I guess this is the piece you might have to understand about what AIs are getting better and better at. They're getting better at holding the goal in their mind and working backwards from the goal to actions that drive toward the goal. Like when Claude Code gets a spec, it's just like, okay, I'm just going to figure out what next action I can take to bring myself closer to the goal. And they're better than many programmers. I can tell you firsthand, I've hired programmers that are worse than Claude Code. I'm worse than Claude Code, and I'm a pretty good programmer. So you generalize this, they take a goal, they work backwards from the goal. That's the secret power. Like what does the human eye do? Well, it takes the electromagnetic fluctuations, right? And it turns them into a 3D image. Okay, that's the magic power of the human eye. What's the magic power of the human brain? It takes descriptions of outcomes and it outputs actions that drive toward those outcomes. That's the magic power. I just formalized what the magic power is, and AI has more of the magic ingredient, right? So our brains are just sitting here with less of the magic ingredient. That's the fundamental problem here.
No, that's totally all fair when it comes to, what we have today on hand in terms of what we call AI. Yeah.
Right. So LLMs have the magic ingredient, and future AIs are going to have even more.
I guess I just really dislike what we call AI nowadays.
Sure. So just use my definition, right? Just use my definition. I mean, it's not. So when I think about AIs, you don't need to open the black box, right? You just have this metric saying how good is it at driving toward goals, steering toward goals. Claude Code is driving my command line better than I drive my command line, right? To get the software to where it needs to be. Right. And then you can, AlphaGo is driving the Go game to where the Go game needs to be for it to win. right? So it's this general capacity. So forget about what's in the black box. Maybe an LLM is in the black box. Maybe reinforcement learning is in the black box. Some combination, right? Mixture of experts. All you know is that when you look out, you're like, oh, a human used to drive toward the goal. You put in whatever you call an AI, right? Whatever the black box is, you put that in the driver's seat, you get to the goal better. And there's just fewer and fewer places where giving the human the wheel matters anymore, right? Giving a human a steering wheel is becoming more and more pointless.
Sure, but like the conversation between no, you're absolutely right, and I agree with you on everything that you said, to be honest. But like, what I disagree with, I guess, epistemologically, is like when you say we have AI, and then we just put AI into this black box, and it doesn't matter what's in it. What I disagree with is labeling it AI is wrong, because AI means that we've produced something that is AI and we haven't, right? Like to me, AI is something kind of sacred. It's like a mimicry of human mind, or something that we produce that is better than human mind, and we haven't done that. So like when we talk about like Doomer Apocalypse about the AI and stuff, it's like, okay, well, like, have we been defeated by AI, which is to being like,
Sure. So it sounds like you're,
or we've been defeated by something that is tools, which is LLM and learn.
I don't think it's interesting to talk about semantics, right? So the way to not talk about semantics is I can just state my claim without saying AI, and then you can just argue with the claim without worrying about, because you're saying your objection is that you think of AI being something fine. So my objection, I'm going to invent a new term. I call it a goal engine, right? It's some black box that can take the steering wheel, right, and steer the outcome better than a human can, right? That would be a superhuman goal engine. And what I'm worried about is that I think we're going to lose control of superhuman goal engines, and the place they're going to steer the universe to is not where we would have wanted.
Yes, that said, I can get behind.
Oh, okay.
Sure, but I guess semantics.
You two agree with each other. You just want to talk about philosophy instead of like a doom apocalypse thing.
Sure, I guess so. No, I mean, if we take it like that, like if you're saying like with this Ghoul engine, like sure, I can see where like we develop tools, like LLMs, like and they really develop and they go beyond. Yeah, I can see where your argument is going there.
Great, yeah. So the reason that I started going apeshit in the last few years, right, seeing ChatGPT and all the successor things, and I'm like, is because I was like, okay, this goal engine, right, these answering these questions, driving to the answer, even just answering a question is actually doing most of the work of taking the action, because when you know what action needs to be taken, the next step of taking the action is relatively trivial. Like you just go email a human like, hey, do this for me, I'll pay you money, right? The actuation is not the hard part. The hard part is mapping the goal to the action. That's the secret sauce. So when I saw ChatGPT, I was like, okay, this is now, you can measure how broad it is and how deep it is at having this magic power of steering goals. It's really broad because it's natural language. You could literally talk to it about anything, and it's referencing, it's saying, oh, let me connect these two disparate pieces of knowledge together from any domain that humans know, because I've crawled the whole internet. So it's very broad. And it's getting deeper and deeper in the sense that like now, if you want to get a PhD writing an essay on a novel subject, or even you want to try to prove a new math theorem, like it's already surpassing that point as we speak, right? It's hitting new benchmarks there. So it's getting deep and it's also broad. So again, it's like when you're saying I'm afraid that like one day we'll have these engines, I'm just telling you, I'm looking at the metric. I'm saying the human brain is kind of broad and kind of deep. The AIs are about to surpass it. They're already more broad. They're already more deep. They have a bunch of places they're deep. AlphaGo is deeper at Go, right? The AI is now deeper. Claude Code is just about to get deeper. Like you literally never hire a software engineer ever, right? Maybe like a year from now. So, I just think the time is like very soon.